Hi, this is Sean McCarthy, Seven Spirits on Board Game Geek, and I thought it'd be kind of fun, a little bit interesting to do an audio commentary of War of the Ring game. And this game looked like it was going to be interesting. This is Magic Geek versus Alija, and I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, or at least close to correctly. They were kind enough to post the replay file, and I downloaded it. I haven't seen the game yet. Let's see. I need to turn on hand viewing, and if we're going to be able to do what we want to do. Yeah, I'm just going to catch up to the part where they roll the dice at the beginning, probably. Okay, so actually let's stop here after they've drawn cards. Magic Geek's the Free People, and he's drawn Horn of Gondor and Power of Tom Bombadil, which is a rather nice start. Horn of Gondor is playable early, and in fact you want to draw it early because Boromir might die. And it's definitely good to get early when Gandalf is still leading the Fellowship, so you can draw another character card. The Power of Tom Bombadil is also a rather nice event to have. Both of those make it so that event dice aren't useless to you on the first turn. You can use them for quite relevant effect, either preventing one corruption and drawing a character card too, which is pretty good. And in the case of Power of Tom Bombadil, just advancing the north and having some minor bonus in addition to that. So, relatively good draw. And Alija drew Stormcrow and the Lidless Eye. Lidless Eye is a piece of crap. Stormcrow, it's a bit better. It's actually relatively good with the expansion because if the Free People try to advance the Elves, calculating they have enough muster dice to get Galadriel after getting the Elves to war, well, the Fellowship starts in an Elven stronghold, so you can play Stormcrow on them and set them back one die, which not only sets them back one die, but if you time it right and they only have the right number of muster dice to do it that turn barely, then you set them back a free die next turn because they are delayed a turn in getting Galadriel. So, relatively good hands from both players, and Alija's chosen to allocate one eye, which I think is probably the default move. You might go for 0 and you might go for 2, although I'd argue that 2 is probably overkill, especially in the expansion where the Free can kind of afford to not advance the Fellowship quite as much and instead go for Galadriel early. Alright, so let's see what they roll. Okay, well this changes things quite a bit because Magic Geek has a totally awful roll. He didn't roll any character dice, nor any Wills of the West, and he didn't even get any army dice. So at least he's got 2 cards he can play with his 2 event dice, but he can't even get Galadriel after getting the Elves to war, which is quite a bad roll. I'm not sure what he's going to do. I guess he'd probably play Horn of Gondor first after passing, see what he draws, and go from there. Probably advance the Elves. Alija got a relatively good roll. He didn't get any extra eyes, which is beautiful, especially with the roll for Magic Geek. And he's also gotten 2 musters, which is enough to get Saruman, so he's probably going to do that. He also only got 1 event die and 1 character die, and those being the bad dice, that's pretty good because he doesn't have to deal with those crappy dice. He can just use musters and armies, which is what you want at the beginning as the shadow. Alright, so let's continue on and see what they do. Yes, Magic Geek is very unhappy about his roll, and with good reason. So he's passing, and Alija's just going to go for Saruman, it looks like. And Magic Geek is actually choosing to draw a character card at this, a strategy card at this point. Obviously he wouldn't draw a character card, he'd just play Horn of Gondor. But drawing a strategy card, well, I'm not sure what the point of that is. perhaps he's going to go for all-in companion military push. And in that case, obviously, you want mighty attack rather than some stupid one corruption prevention out in the field. So, yes, well, he drew a Wisdom of Elrond, which could actually be pretty good. That can get Gondor to war, and he'll be able to, or rather, it'll activate Gondor and advance it one, and he'll be able to get it to war and start mustering there this turn. So. And Stormcrow can't do anything about that because there's no companions there yet. So, relatively good draw. Although, I'm not so sure that was a good choice of how to spend that die. We'll see. Alija's just mustering up the Mordor guys, moving them together. Magic Geek is indeed going to play Wisdom of Elrond. And on Gondor, yes. And Alija has moved the Sauron troops so that they're in both sort of gateway to Mordor strongholds. And Magic Geek is now jumping ahead of himself, mustering an elite before he's at war. And he's just going to do both those actions. Alija has chosen to use his event die to draw a character card, probably so that he can get a rather efficient use out of his character die. Of course, moving an army one space is possible, but that's about half as cool as using an army die to move two armies. So it's nice, if possible, to use those character dice to play character cards instead. And so I guess he was hoping to draw one because Stormcrow is pointless right now. Lidless Eye was pointless, so obviously he has to spend the event die to draw a card, and I'm guessing he drew characters so that he could perhaps use that character die for playing it. And yeah, he drew The Ring is Mine, which is fine to play anytime, although if Magic Geek is in fact going for the military strategy, then it's going to be pretty useless, but I guess this is kind of hedging his bets. And that's the end of the first turn. Okay, I took a break there to see if I could figure out how to get the audio and video stuff working, and I appear to have done that, so I'll now continue. We're at the end of the first turn, and Alija decided to allocate one eye again, which I'm not sure about that. I would go with 0 at this point, actually, because he's got 8 dice, so he's probably going to roll one. And so far, Magic Geek has shown no indication that he's doing anything with the Fellowship. He's instead developed a very efficient alternate source of dice, which is Gondor, where he can spend muster dice, army musters, even Will of the Wests in a pretty efficient manner to muster troops. So I'd be less inclined to believe that he's going to move the Fellowship as much anyway, so I wouldn't do any of this myself. Anyway, they haven't even drawn their cards yet, so let's hope they do that. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So Magic Geek has drawn We Prove the Swifter, which could be good for his plan, as well as Paths of the Wozas, which Sudden Strike could be pretty nice. And Alija drew New Powers Rising, which is obviously one of the best shadow cards, and Shelov's Lair, which he could use to attack Rivendell, assuming he doesn't accidentally play it for the tile first. Okay, so this time Magic Geek rolled some character dice, and so we're going to have to see whether he actually uses them to move the Fellowship or not. I I definitely would, but I haven't really seen him play much before, so I'm not sure. And Alija didn't roll any additional eyes, so it might be the best move. On the other hand, what Alija did roll is several character dice, which means that if he wants to keep his dice efficient, he's going to have to move some armies into position to attack Free People's armies, because that's the time when Shadow character dice are as efficient as Shadow army dice when they're attacking. Or, of course, we're playing event cards, but he's only really got one to play, Shelob Lair, so, and 3 character dice.